Thank you so much for your patience, and for those of you that were part of the morning session, thank you so much for joining us then. And for those of you that didn't come to the morning session, because this builds a little bit on that, I'm going to do a little bit of a review just to bring in Uncle Pono's teachings before we move on to the part two of the session, which is on building aloha personally in our professional lives. So the first session that we had this morning kind of focused on what is aloha and what Uncle Pono's teachings of aloha have been for the world. So I'll go through that a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and move into the start of this session. So we'll have a couple minutes of sort of setting the foundation, which came from the first session this morning, and then moving on. So, hi everybody, my name is Miki, and I am calling in today from Pololo on the island of Oahu. I most closely associate with, I'm born and raised in Pukalani, Maui, and my family, I just came back last night. My parents live in Wailuku now. And so we go in every once in a while to see them. Um, but yeah, and I'm really honored and humbled to bring to you the teachings and the wisdom of Uncle Pono Shim, who passed away last year, about a year and a half ago. He departed his physical form, but he's here with us all the time. And I'm so grateful for technologies such as videos that we could record interviews with him and bring his teachings in. And so I'll share him with you all through some of those electronic mediums and get you started on the journey of being his students, which is something that I'm just so honored to be is a student of his for life. So I will go ahead and share my screen. I always apologize to everybody who's in a Zoom with me. 'Cause I don't like to control any aspect of anybody else's life. So feel free to reconfigure the screen, put it however you need. Zoom will default to me sort of colonizing your screen, but I'm going to try not to. So this first part of the session is a lot of talking at, and I really do hope this time to be able oh, actually, I forgot to make sure I shared sound. To be able to have time to share and just have some reflective time together, because that's always my goal. I know 1 hour is short, can feel like forever, but it's also very short to introduce these sort of bigger practices. So I'll try my best and apologize in advance if I rush through things. If you have any questions at all at any point in time or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get to them. So this first session is sort of me sharing, and we'll have some videos where you'll get to hear Uncle Pono's voice and see who he is. So this is building foundations of aloha in our personal and professional journeys. It's a practice of aloha for all aspects of our lives, and this is built really primarily on the wisdom of Uncle Pono Shim and a few other aloha practitioners that he also learned from that we include in this presentation. So part one of this was about what is aloha and where does aloha show up in my life? Um, what are your own aloha practices? But this one is what is my hana? And I'll get into what the definition is, or what one possible definition is that Uncle Pono offers us about hana. And what does that have to do with aloha? Is the focus of this session. So these are my co-teachers. They're not here with me right now because they're running another one of our sessions in another Zoom for another work that we do with principals and vice principals at the DOE. But so Hejang is my co-lead in Foundations of Aloha. She and I are students of Uncle Pono, and we both also worked a long time for Polynesian Voyaging Society, and we were also charter school teachers together. So we've been together a long time. This is also Logan Narikawa as part of our team. He yes, he's a student of Uncle Pono as well, but his unlike Hajong and myself, where our direct lineage of aloha practice can be tied to Uncle Pono, um, Logan is in the cohort of Aunty Burgess's Pomanu. And so that is his lineage. And we are grateful to have diverse perspectives on our team and diverse practices because it's so important. And then this is me. And for all of the titles and names and jobs that we have, I think we consider our roles as parents to be the most important. And so we name our children in our work. And so I bring with me Mayumi, and Logan brings Kilioi, and Hejang brings Hayden. And so thank you for allowing us to be here to share with you. Um, so again, in that sort of recap of what we shared in the first session, just to get all of us kind of at the same place where we can at least begin to explore Hana with a foundation of aloha, we talk about what is aloha. And so when we are referring to aloha, we're referring to this way of explaining aloha that Aunty Pilahi Paki shared with the world in 1970 publicly. She had been sharing with her own students for many years before that. But she rose to the stage at the governor's conference on the year 2000 in 1970, and ascended and took the microphone and shared that this is the key, right? Aloha is the practice. Hawaii will turn to Hawaii. The world will turn to Hawaii as they search for world peace, because Hawaii has the key, and that key is aloha. And as she shared, that was the first time most people heard akahai, lokahi, olu olu, ha'aha, and ahonui as one way to conceptualize all of the different containers of meaning that exist within aloha. We know, yes, it looks like an acronym, but I think in the practice that Uncle Pono has and that we inherit or try to emulate from him is that each sound, each letter is a representation of a universe of meaning. And at all times, we are just digging deeper into what that universe means. And so in this case, A for aloha is akahai, L for aloha is lokahi, and we go through all of the letters that way. One of the things that I bring up too is that Uncle Pono often shared that that you cannot do one without doing all, right? And so even if you say, I in my akahai practice, you cannot possibly be practicing akahai if you're not also practicing lokahi, olu olu, ha'aha, and ahonui. They just might not be the one that you're focusing on or the one that you had to put muscle into, right? Some days, like my olu olu response is hard to come by. And so I focus on that practice, but it also means that I also have akahai, lokahi, ha'aha, and ahonui with me. The other thing is that he often said is that if you're not practicing all, then you're not practicing any. And so that's something to think about too, is that in everything we do, considering at least these 5 phrases, akahai, lokahi, olu, olu, ha'aha, and ahonui, are we doing all 5? And if not, then how might we complete our aloha response by bringing those to the forefront? And so we bring that. We see aloha, Aunty Pilahi's framework or teachings of aloha manifested in many ways. Some of these are posters that we find in airports or the state capitol, postcards, t-shirts. I see them on t-shirts now, bumper stickers. And then also with the Aloha Spirit Law, which a lot of people don't know is in the Hawaii Revised Statutes 575, and is supposed to be the law that actually shapes all other laws in Hawaii. That aloha spirit is what we mean when we say that it is more than a greeting or farewell. It's mutual regard and affection, and extends in caring with no obligation in return. It is the essence of all relationships. And so even down to our laws, all areas of society, formal and informal, are supposed to be conducted with aloha. And our legislature brought this into being in 1986. And so I share that with you because some people will say that it has yet to awaken. It has been maybe dormant and gathering some momentum up until now. So hopefully we can help it unleash its grace, like we're going to talk about today. So bringing in Uncle Pono, he in 1976, his Aunty Pilahi Paki took him for a walk on the beach. He was 13 years old, and shared with him that this wisdom. I want you to learn how to think Hawaiian, not speak Hawaiian. I want you to know Hawaiian thought. For if you think Hawaiian, regardless of the language you use, it will be the language of aloha, and aloha is the language that reveals the connection to all people. And so Uncle Pono took this through his years of silent practice, because she also told him that he was under strict guidelines to not share the wisdom that she shared with him with anyone until she gave him permission to. And that permission did not come until over 30 years later. Many years after she passed from this physical plane, she came to visit him and release him from that kapu and told him to please share. And so he began his Aloha Response and Higher Skills Academy trainings and other speaking engagements to share what she blessed him with, and then what his practice evolved into for the 30 years after that. So I bring that to you. what he shares, and I'll attach a video in here that you can see as well. I'll upload the version of the slides into the Sketch platform so that you're able to access it. So you don't have to take notes on any of this stuff. It's here for you. You can also take notes if you want, however you like to learn. But Aunty Pilahi shared with a lot of her students, and many of us, even in her books and her writings, that all Hawaiian words have at least three interpretations. We can group them into three different ways of meaning. One is the ho'opukaku, or the literal, right? And that one is the aloha, means hello and goodbye. It means farewell. Like, yes, it can mean those things. The kauna, or the symbolic, which is the meaning behind or underneath or implied in the words. And then the noahuna, or the spiritual. And it's important to note that for many people, the noahuna is the concepts and the teachings that were not to be passed to anyone besides the chosen ones. And so these were very deep practices. They are often not so much hidden as just not open to everyone. And that some made choices in this generation. There are a number of cultural practitioners that I can think of that know that they are stepping beyond that boundary and sharing a spiritual practice with those that are not necessarily not following the traditional method, and sharing what would have been spiritual and secretive with many, because they feel like it is the time for that the world is in pain and it needs Hawaii and it needs aloha, and we need to share what we have, and that this is one way that they can. And so Uncle Pono was one of those who decided that, and I talked to his brother about this too. He made a choice to be very public in his teachings of what Aunty Pilahi shared, which not everybody did. And that's what he felt like his calling was. And so we get to benefit from that, but we also carry that responsibility for honoring that he did step outside of that boundary. Um, the same as my other teacher, Nainoa Thompson, and the knowledge that he received from Papa Mau Piailu, who went against his village traditions and actually did things like teach Nainoa and others about wayfinding when it was said to be sacred and not to be taught outside the family. And so when we follow in that tradition, we honor Mao, and we try to live into the legacy that he broke his traditions in order to provide us. Same with Uncle Pono. So today, that's what we're doing, is we are learning still from Uncle Pono in his other form, his next form, and honoring that he took that risk to share with us these practices and these teachings. So I will move into this was sort of the summary of Uncle Pono's practice after 30 years. It sounds like I could just put it on one slide. That feels very, I don't know, I don't like it. But this was my way of summarizing, because he really wanted us to. I work with children, students, right? Like middle school, elementary school. And so we wanted a way to convey this to intergenerational family learning, from kupuna to keiki, like from students 8 months old to 83. Actually, now we have students, we have someone who gave birth and brought their baby into our cohort from the hospital. So on day 0, when she came into the world, she was a cohort member of ours already. And so we need to make it accessible for all ages. And we try to distill Uncle Pono's practice of akahai. Yes, we know it as grace, and kindness and forgiveness. But in Uncle Pono's practice, it meant to always leave things better than you find them. And same with lokahi, to know that we're all connected. Olu olu, to be kind from an eternal view, which might mean making hard choices and experiencing some discomfort in the present. Ha'a, humility, to empty yourself so that you can receive gifts from others. And ahonui, to pause and hold reaction so that you can wait for the intention and purpose to rise through. Now, these might be different in kind of conceptualization than you've ever heard the definitions before. Like olu olu is one where it was surprising for me. You know, we say ke olu olu, we think olu olu is pleasant. But Uncle Pono would explain that every one of these values always has a hina and a ku, or a masculine and a feminine side, a strong and a gentle side. And so olu olu, while it is pleasant, also has the strength to support and hold. And so we think of all concepts that way, and usually we just know one definition or one layer of definition, and not the exploration of all of the layers underneath it. And so we're every definition that you know and are working with is right. There are just others that we can continue to evolve and learn about, just like aloha. So we start with this right here with Nanaviri from Change We Must, which is a book that she wrote. Um, this is one of Uncle Pono's teachers. Alo means the bosom, the center of the universe. This is one definition. Aloha. Ha is the breath of God, right? And so already that's a much different kind of definition than we've heard before. According to Nanaviri, the word is imbued with a great deal of power. I do not use the word casually. Aloha is a feeling. It's a recognition of the divine. It is not just a word or a greeting. And I think in this, right, in the generous olu olu akahai way of thinking about it, it is a word or a greeting. That's how we've been using it in this generation for many decades, right? Since the commercialization or the the um, the sort of literal translations that began. It is a word. It's a greeting. It means certain things, but in the kauna of it or the symbolism, aloha is also a feeling. And then it's a recognition of the divine from the spiritual point of view. So Nanaviri has for us here ho'opukaku and kauna and noahuna, all in one very short paragraph. And I love that about the wisdom that she offers in her beautiful book as well, which I highly recommend if you have not already seen it. Okay, so this part, oh, I don't know why there's a bit.ly to a KS Maui link, but I'll take that out. What is my hana and what is my aloha response? So we think about hana and aloha, just like how aloha has all those different meanings that we were unpacking that maybe for some of us are new. And I fully recognize and embrace that some of you have been students of Uncle Pono's or other aloha practitioners for much longer than I. And so please feel free to jump in and redirect and to add your ike to this presentation, which is just my humble way of sharing Uncle Pono with everyone. So I bring in another concept that he shared with the world that was just amazing. I remember when he came to my house, grabbed my small whiteboard and started drawing all these ways of things being related. And one of the things that he shared was hana. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure what we're talking about right now, but I'm sure you're going to tell me. So I think of this as a way to open this conversation, right? What contributes to my fulfillment? Like, what is it that I feel like good about, that fills me up, that helps me in my fullness? So it's when I feel inspired. It's when I feel excited. I might feel useful. I love feeling useful. Like I can actually like do something and be productive and help people. Feeling safe is really important too for my fulfillment, and feeling connected. Everybody I think has different things. I love feeling joyous too. Like I think of work as joyous. I want to be with joyous people and be in joyous company. Because the world may not be joyous and the situations we find ourselves in may not be joyous. But I can carry that joy inside of me if I know that I'm connected to joy. And so these are important for me to feel full. But then I ask the question of how often do you feel that way, or do I feel that way at work? Depending on what stage of my career I was in and where I was working, I would say not 100%, right? Like, how often did I feel fulfilled at work when I was at other jobs? Like, not very much. How about at home? I'd say again, depends on my stage of life and where I was and who I was with and who I called home at that time and where I called home. I was not always feeling fulfilled. Um, and then when I'm by myself, this is the tricky part, right? By myself and in a crowd, can I feel fulfilled? Like, can I be present in a crowd full of people that I don't even know and feel like I'm safe, I'm joyous, I'm connected, feel excited, I feel inspired, right? Or when I'm by myself in an empty room, do I feel those things too? And this is important for me to think about. Like, where is my happiness and fulfillment indicator? Where is my fullness? Um, and so I bring to you a short, well, we'll listen to part of this video. Maybe we'll play the whole thing. I'm not sure. So that we can begin the exploration of Hana.
One of my favorite books, and is very precious to me because it was given to me from Nanaviri, is Change We Must, which could be considered Jediism. The Hawaiian said, Hinane ka olelo. The language is a riddle, rich in metaphor. The Hawaiian language was melodious and graceful like the people. Before the missionaries came and converted the language into the written word, the Hawaiians used figures of speech in a language that was like poetry. This use of the language vanished long ago. Hawaiians today speak the missionary language, a literal type of Hawaiian. The riddle is gone. When Captain Cook came to Hawaii, now imagine the brilliance, innovation, the self-reliance, incredible amounts of food. Now they saw our effort, they saw our production, and they saw our effort as what? Work. They heard our word for work as hana. So they interpreted hana as work because they saw our effort as work. And it's not. What is work? Work is something that you do until you can find somebody else to replace you. That's not hana. Hana is hana and work is work, and they are not the same thing. Ha-na. Hana. Ha-na. As we ha, we na. As we express our ha, as we share our ha, as we go to a moment of emptiness, we na. And what is na? Comes from that word noa. Noa means to unleash, to set free, to unbridle, to liberate. Na. Akahai. Kindness, grace. What is grace? Grace is you leave something better than you found it. So, na is unleashing grace. Leaving something better than you found it. Like what? Like the land. Like people. Like the rocks. Like the trees. Like the animals, the birds. The ocean. That didn't work. So as we ha, we na. As we express, we unleash grace.
There's no time. There's no time restriction in the word hana because you're doing it from your heart, from your core, from the last breath you get, and focusing on that particular situation. For our family, we're community builders, I'd like to say. And we also agriculture. So with that mash, I think we're trying to build a small community to make it food sustainable.
I've never thought of it as work. It's our lifestyle. You know, for us, we've gone to generations of this type of lifestyle.
So hana is ha-na. And it's not just the effort of work, it is sharing our hana. It's not work. Endearingly, emphatically, recover what it means to be hana. Now, you have o hana. Now, so what is the o? Aunty Pilahi said there are certain words that have that o, only a very few. That is a very unique o. That o she defined as eternal, eternity. O hana, eternal hana. Because if you're part of an ohana, all that meant, all the members of an ohana, hana forever. That's a concept that we honor each person's hana. We have space for people to understand, recover, discover, innovate, improve their hana. And we honor and need each other's hana. That's ohana.
So I'll have the link to the rest of the video in that, but I wanted to share just that first half about Hana, and about Ohana. I think just like Aloha, as we uncovered in the first session, Aloha has all these different containers and universes of meaning that are under the surface of what we might already know. It's not to say that what you know is not accurate. It's just accurate for the level that we practice it at. And so if we think about Ohana in the way that Uncle Pono has framed here, I don't know how many of us are practicing eternal Hana forever with everyone, right? That kind of like, what are the gifts that we bring and how do we honor the gifts of others? And this does not just mean the people that we think of as our equivalents that have the same job that we do, that are, in our company. These are also the clients that we serve. These are the strangers we meet. These are the people standing next to us in line. These are the people we sit next to on an airplane or at the bus stop. Like, this is all part of Hana and weaving our eternal tapestry of life. Right? I think about that. We're each a thread and we're so important, but everybody's thread is also important. And that said, society and time and I'd say capitalism, but I know that's political. Like all of those things have done some work on some people's threads, man. They've weakened them, they've cut them short, they've isolated them. And so it sometimes takes some effort to see how we are in oneness with everyone around us. Um,
One of my favorite,
um, just thinking about the reflection, what is your Hana? How and where do you unleash your grace and connect to the effort of the universe? And where are you in the journey of weaving your story? Right? Like all of those things is we are in a process of becoming, all of us, all the time. Right? Our journey is not done. Uncle Pono's is not, his physical journey is in this plane for this generation, but he is continuing to evolve and grow. And he evolves because we're all learning with him still. I had a student, a yoga sensei, a teacher, and he told me he joined one of my cohorts after Uncle Pono passed, and was led to us from another student, and joined our cohorts for Foundations of Aloha. And then after the first week, he said, "I spent the whole weekend with Uncle Pono." And I said, "That's awesome." And he said, "I looked up every video I could find, and I watched them all, and I listened to him over and over again, and it just played him in my heart and in my mind, and I feel like I got to know him." And I'm like, that's the beauty of it, right? Like, that's the beauty of it. And I'm so glad. So anyway, we can continue to grow our Aloha journey and think about what is our Hana and how are we weaving in with everyone around us and everyone in this Zoom and everyone that you work with. So I think about, and I brought this into the first session as well, but we think about Aloha as the basis of our Hana. This is where we bring the two concepts together. So for Aunty Pilahi Paki, who was known as the keeper of the secrets of Hawaii, right? We attribute to her the aloha practices. She said, "Aloha, as translated and interpreted by my ancestors, was an element of life. It was an element vital and important to their daily habits in life. Aloha for them was the spiritual essence endowed to man in his and her beginning. Aloha was that tiny glow or spark to and in life, which enabled man to imply his thoughts and apply his heart to the imagination and emotion of his and her soul." She did not say that this was only in some people, right? This spark is in every single one of us when we are born, probably from the womb, actually, from before the womb, from when destiny decided to bring us into existence. Like, the challenge is that for some people, their spark was fed from the moment they emerged from the womb. It was nurtured, it was nourished, it was grown. For others, it was hidden, it was starved, it was buried, right? And when we meet people, we might see where they are on that journey and how much their aloha was fed and how much they need our aloha to feed them and how much we might need their aloha to feed us, right? Like that's part of Hana, I think, is knowing what is the way that I was destined to bring my aloha to the world, and how might I see in every person that I meet what their aloha is showing to me, right? Or what is standing in the way or blocking their aloha from being able to find me. And so that, I think, is part of it. And I bring in again all of these different sacred spaces that grow our aloha. These are the grounds upon which we are fueled and we are nourished, and our aloha is fed. It is the root and the anchor to everything that we do. It is the water and the sunlight and the air that feeds us. These are the lands we call home, the lands of our birth. It's the ancestral lands that we carry inside of us, because each of our ancestors carried that land that they were born into. It's the first breath of life that greeted you, and all the kupuna in the sky and in the wind and in the ground that were there to greet you, right? They knew your reason for being. They saw your aloha. And so that's part of us, I think, is on a journey of just know, how do we get to the point where we know what they knew when we were born? That each of us has a purpose, that each of us has a calling, that each of us has a place in the divine scheme of things. Unfortunately, colonization and society tells us that some people are worth more than others, that some people deserve more than others, right? And that's not aloha. And so how do we honor and elevate the aloha within each person? I think that that's one of the biggest challenges of modernity. So one of the tools that I wanted to share with you as we think about our work is a framework that actually comes from permaculture and is now used in regenerative economies and agriculture, thinking about abundance in a number of ways. So typically we think of capital as money, right? Financial capital and material capital, the things we own, the money that we have to buy those things, the worth. When people say, what's your net worth? They almost always are talking about the dollar sign or the things. The problem with that is that we subjugate or enslave all the other forms of capital in order to make more of the financial and the material. So we give up or we sell cultural capital. We convert our intellectual capital, our spiritual capital. Sometimes we give that up too, in searching for financial capital. We want experiential capital. Those are all the lived experiences that we have in our life, but we often think we need financial capital or material capital in order to get those. The living capital, which is the natural world, and also you as a honua, as a sacred place in this earth, your living capital is important too. So when we think about the world around us, it's easy to see pollution and abundance, right? We see pristine forests and clean water and beautiful oceans, and then we see ones that are polluted, and we see places that have become, that things have been extracted from over and over again. Your body is the same way. The things that you put into your system, like your gut, right? Your stomach, all of that, like that's your living capital. If you only feed it junk food, you kill so much of the naturally healing and abundant and amazing things that are inside of your body. Right. And so we think about that too. In the living capital, we have rich abundance inside ourselves too. But often because of the deficits that we face in the outside world, we punish our bodies. And we rob ourselves of our own living capital as a reflection of what we see around us. And so I think about that. We head into cycles of for myself, self-medication, drinking, abuse, all of those things are a reflection of what we see in society around us. And then we ingest it and we make it a part of ourselves. Right? And so this idea of hana means regaining the light of aloha, that spark that was inside of you, and allowing that to grow and allowing that to feed the beautiful, abundant living capital that is your body, that is your lifetime, that is your health and your wellness. And so all of those things should be I hope are part of work, right? Are part of the hana, that it fills you and fulfills you and nourishes you and feeds you and cleanses you. And so I think about all these different forms of capital as when we're really doing it right, I think we have all of these and more. Another way to conceptualize this one gets a little bit crazy and more like in a table. I'm an engineer, and so I think in tables. But there's things like time capital. Some people have lots of time. Some people don't, right? And so like people have time capital. Time capital is not the same as experience capital. Right? Just because somebody has plenty of time doesn't mean that they have the knowledge or the experience. So we think about that when we think about who gets assigned jobs and who's doing what work. Often, I think you as caregivers, you as people that are working in community, you take on all the jobs. And so all of your time capital is gone. And that means that time to invest in yourself, time to invest in your family, time to invest in thinking about your own self-care, like that's gone, right? You've probably exceeded the time capital that you have, and now you're sacrificing living capital and health to make up for over tapping the time capital, right? So lack of sleep, not eating well, not taking the rest for yourself, like all of these things got to balance, and it's so hard. But what we got to realize too is that we don't have to do all the balancing ourselves. As Uncle Pono says, it takes all of us to make the one whole. Not any one of us is everything for everyone, not even for ourselves. Right? We have to. We're part of a network. We're part of a tapestry that braids everybody together. So when I think about harnessing strengths, right? I think about all those resources: time capital, community capital, compassion or kindness capital, right? Like, and then I have a lot of this or I don't have a lot of this, right? Like, how much do I have today? Even if I just do a check, like, do I got a lot of time capital? Not today, right? 12 hours of Zoom meetings, no time capital left. Do I have community capital? Like, yes, I have a great network of community members around me and people that support me, right? You might also call that social capital. There's attention capital. Am I able to pay attention? Do I give and get attention? Like, I can just do these checks, but then I'm not isolated by myself in this world. So in my home or support circle, is there a lot of that or a little bit, right? If I don't have a lot of time capital, can I tap somebody from my home support and say, hey, I'm very low on time today. Can you do these things for me? Or can you help me by this? Or when you notice someone in your life that's close to you that is low on some of these capital, can you say, listen, I want to help you with this because I have an abundance of this. And you don't have to say this kind of capital because that sounds weird. Hey, I got time. Let me help you. Right? Or kindness capital. I think about that too, you guys. Like, sorry, and I don't mean to use a gendered term. That's just my pigeon coming out. But when I think about like people are kind to me, right? Like I come home from a trip away and like 2 days on Maui with my family, and I come back and the uncle up the street is like, hey, one of your chickens got out. I brought him back. I brought her back home, and and I put some feed in there. Or there's like eggplant and zucchini on my porch from the auntie down the street. Like the kindness capital is abundant. Even people smile. Walking to the post office, people smile, you say hi, right? That doesn't happen for everyone, and I know that. Did I do anything to deserve those things? Maybe, but I was also born into a community and into the way that I look and the way I present myself that allows people to share with me their kindness freely. It's not the same reaction that everybody gets. And I have to think about that too, right? Like, if I was somebody else, if I looked like somebody else, if I was living in a different community, would I still be receiving this kind of kindness capital? Maybe not, because it's filtered through society as well. And so, how might I accommodate and help support the growth of kindness capital for those that may not have been showered with it the way that I have in my life? I have an abundance of kindness capital because it's been given to me so often. How might I share that with others so that they can grow theirs? Right? That's the kind of thing that I think about when I think about these lists. I also think about, for me, clients is students usually. And students sometimes are like principals and vice principals and maybe complex area superintendents. Sometimes they're bank executives. Like those are the people that I work with. And sometimes I forget about what they have in abundance because I'm so busy focusing on the ways that they're not meeting expectations, or they're not doing these things, right? Or that they come in and I'm supposed to teach them something and I'm like, how come you're not paying attention? How come you're not these things? Instead of seeing them as a resource and a gift. What can I learn from them? How can this person be my teacher? Right? How can I see the oneness in them, the light in them, their spark of aloha, and honor that and elevate that and help to feed it and nurture it? Because maybe society has not been so kind to them and has not given them as much as it's given to other people. And I want to stop that chain of reaction, right? I want to be part of the healing process for people and to really treat people with equity. And so that's something to think about. And also Aina, I think we often forget that simply the name of the place that we're at, the name of the street that we walk, the name of the rain that falls upon us, or the wind that cools us, right? Or in some places, the wind that does not cool us because it is a hot wind. But those have those have power and capital too. Experiential capital, carry mo'olelo, they have cultural capital, spiritual capital, so much of it. But we need to use the names and call them into being. And so all of these things exist as resources for us. And I just bring this to you to say, how often do we honor and think about these, but also honor them in ourselves? And because I think that that's part of the work. So one of the ways for us at EI, our company, we have a process called Aloha by Design, and we help. It's not really strategic planning. It's more like facilitating people to think about what is your work that you're being called to do, and how can we do it in a way that's really regenerative. And so we think about it as, I used to call it decolonizing design thinking, but that was not. Some people didn't like it so much, so now we call it Aloha by Design, and it feels much more generous. When you think about like what is the problem that you're trying to solve and what change in behavior are you trying to achieve? What's your solution? What end state will your solution lead to? What resources do you need to make your solution a reality? But the one question that I keep asking is, how will what we do, how will what we work on move people, place, and society towards regenerating aloha in the universe? Are we constantly building aloha? Right? It's the one thing that when you invest aloha, you get more back. You don't just spend it. It's not like money, right? You put it in and then and then it's gone, right? Aloha is like you put it in and it comes back to you. It's in reciprocity and it keeps growing in its abundance. And so and it's not the one thing, it's one of many things, but that's one example of something that truly can regenerate. So often I think when we're working in, um, particularly fields that deal with people and deal with people that have experienced injustice and trauma in our lives. Um, Uncle Pono brought this up when he was sharing about a story about Nelson Mandela, and I really just sat with this phrase for a long time, that in the pursuit of peace we may never find justice, and in the pursuit of justice we may never find peace. And I think in my life I can think about the warriors that I know, the people that are advocates, the people that are allies, and which ones focus on justice and maybe don't ever care about reaching peace. And then I think about the ones that focus on peace and how we question them about, where's the reparations in this? Where's the recognition of past harm? Right? Where's the justice in it? And so it's that balance, or maybe not balance, they're oppositional forces that are, maybe they have to be together, but it's not the same people doing the work. Think about when Lainoa shares with us, like, courage and fear are best friends. You cannot have one without the other. They have to balance each other. You just got to make sure that your courage stays half a step ahead of your fear every day, but don't let it get too far away, right? Because courage without fear, that's dangerous. And fear without courage is paralyzing. And so I think about justice and peace too, and I wonder if it's like that, where they're together and maybe one just has to stay a little bit ahead of the other so we keep moving forward. And I think it depends on what our calling is, which one we put as that half a step forward. So the other quote that I shared with Uncle Pono after I thought about this and I read this with him is this quote from Dr. Remen. It says, when you help, you see life as weak. When you fix, you see life as broken. When you serve, you see life as whole. Right? So fixing and helping may be the work of the ego, and service the work of the soul. So are we serving our clients? Are we serving our people? Are we serving ourselves? Right? Do we see them as people worthy of our effort? Or are we trying to help and fix? Right? Are we giving a hand out rather than a hand up? Are we seeing someone as broken as opposed to seeing their wholeness and wondering how we might support them in developing to their fullness? There's all of these different ways of thinking about how we view ourselves and the people around us. And so I just want to share just one more thing, that as we think about our existence, right, that every day, so when we think about, like, in our existence, we're born from the realm of Po, which is the womb, the dark, right, the pre-existence. In some cases, it's the ocean. People think of Kanaloa and the realm under the ocean as Po as well. And then we're born into the realm of our light. So we go from dark to light. We go from the realm of salt, which is where we were in the womb, to the realm of the fresh water and sunlight, which is where we are on this plane on Earth. And that's our existence. And at the end of our existence, we go back to Po. We go back into the night. We go back into the dark. We go back into the ocean of humanity's existence. But we also do that every day. And so every night when we go to sleep, we re-enter into Po. We go to sleep, we wake up, and it's a new day, and we re-enter into Ao. And so what do we want to put to rest as we go to sleep? And what do we want emerging with us tomorrow as we awaken? Right? Every day is a chance to live another life, to be in another way, to embrace our hana and our destiny in the way that we're meant to. And so we learn from the past, yes, but it does not shape what's possible for us in the future in terms of what we can dream and what we can be. And so just think about that as we move forward. I played this in the last session, and I think many of you are still here from that. So I'll skip that for now. And then wanted to invite you to our Foundations of Aloha. We actually base Uncle Pono's teaching helped us to derive. Well, he actually worked on this with us. We started this together at the beginning of COVID in March 2019. And we're now on our 25th cohort of Foundations of Aloha. It's a 5 to 6 week intergenerational, all ages family learning program. It's totally free. It's all over Zoom. We only meet for, we're actually starting a new cohort on October 1st, which is this Sunday. It starts at 4:30. Sundays is 4:30, and we meet for an hour. We talk story. We get to know each other. We share about a value. And then on the weekdays, we meet at 7:15 for 15 minutes only. People call from their morning walks. They call from their desks at work. They call from the car, dropping off kids at school. Some people call from bed. Totally fine. Camera on, camera off, up to you. And so people call in, and then we kind of just have a short morning session. In the afternoon at 4:30, we have a longer 30-minute session where we talk about the day and we reflect. So I invite you to join us in that Foundations of Aloha cohort if you would like to join people in daily practice. Depending on the day, sometimes we have 40 people, sometimes we have 10, and all of it's okay. All of it's great, and everybody who's there is supposed to be there. We only take attendance for the first week of the program, and the reason for that is so that we know who to send our activity box to. And because during the cohort, we build planter boxes, we build sundials, we have a number of activities that we introduce as part of the daily practice. And so we want to send a box to people that we send free of charge. And then I shared in the morning session again our Mahina Mana'o, but I'll share it again today that this is sort of a weaving together of the teachings of one of my teachers, Tom Penna from Homai Kupono, and Pono Shim, and Uncle Pono from the Aloha Response. And my friend Pam takes these beautiful Mahina pictures. But Mahina set Akua at 5:39 this morning and will continue to grow in her fullness. She'll rise again at 6:15 p.m. as Hoku. So she'll reach 100% illumination at 11:57. That's the largest she will be for this entire Malama. The wisdom of Mahina Hoku speaks of fullness, of brightness, of radiant femininity. She fills the night sky with her light, illuminating our nighttime brilliantly, complementing and balancing what Kala does during the day. In our Ha'aha'a practice today, consider what fulfills and complements your actions, your words, and your thoughts. Is there anything we need to empty ourselves of in order to reach our full illumination? What place or person speaks to you as your inner voice shaping the way you show up in the world? And I focus on Ha'aha'a because today is Thursday, and in our daily cohort, Thursday is always a Ha'aha'a. Monday is Akahai, Tuesday is Lokahi, Wednesday Olu Olu, Thursday Ha'aha, and Friday Mahuni. Yeah, so I will just stop sharing my screen, and we have 9 minutes left in the session. I'm open to talk story, hear any questions or comments from folks, anything that anybody would like to share or that they're thinking about.
Hi, it's me, Arlene. And I am right here in Pukalani.
Oh, awesome.
When you mentioned that, I thought, there's one little bond right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was in your first session, and of course, I'm here now. And you've given me, everyone, a lot of information, lots to think about. And even to think about my living lifestyle, how I work with people, how I work with the children that I visit, all of that. There's a lot of things to think about. Yeah. Even when you spoke about, I wrote a lot of stuff too, even if I wanted to write about our living capital and what we put into ourselves and everything. I mean, giving us enough time, also the self-worth, and you gave me a lot to think about. This is something really great, and I do want to look into that book that you
Anna
spoke
Jerry's book.
about. Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like to check that out. Hopefully I can find it. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And you can. I think Auntie Miley sells it still at Namea, and you can order it online there. It's also, I think, available through Amazon.
Okay.
Ma's book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Thank
such a
you so
story.
much.
Yeah, of
This
course.
was
Thank
like,
you.
wow. And the first session, I was not showing myself, and it was a good thing because I was like crying.
Me too.
I cried a little bit this time, but thank you so much. And I'll let someone else speak.
Thank you, Arlene. And I'm like thinking now about I have Pukalani Super Red chili chicken in my fridge because my mom was like, I went out because my nephew goes to King Kekolike and she had to pick him up, and she was like, I went to Puk Soup and I got you chili chicken, and I was like, so I have it in my fridge. She threw it in my backpack on my way home. We used to live right by there.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I can definitely share my yes. So here's my email. Uh I forgot how to write my email. That one. And then the link to the cohort registration upcoming is right here. I'll put this in the chat as well. And then the slides, I actually uploaded the first session one into the Sketch platform, and I'll do the same for this one, so that you should be able to have it through the conference app and website. Yeah. And I think the recording too. Yeah, Brittany. I'll have access to the recording. Awesome. Aw, thank you. I'm reading the chat. Thank you so much. I'm definitely excited to spend time with everyone. We are looking at having a Maui gathering for Higher Skills Academy and Aloha Response cohorts, Uncle Pono's cohorts, um, just so that I can meet everybody too. But then I also wanted to do one for new cohort members to just get to know each other and see who might be interested in joining the practice. I definitely believe that geographic location matters, and that Pilina building is so important for healing each and every community. And so, yeah, so I'll be doing that. We actually have one scheduled for not every island, because we don't yet have cohort members on Lanai. Um, but we'll figure that out. The two that were part of our cohort moved to Oahu during COVID, and so yeah, so they're here now. But yeah, we hope to be on every island to just talk story and greet people. Oh, thanks everybody. I definitely appreciate you. Hope the rest of your conference has been going well too. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Dr. Patty, is there anything that you want to add as one of Uncle Pono's closest students, and I think of as a mentor myself?
No, you say it so well. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really interested in Eohana Hall, and I'm feeling like a connection between Lahaina and Waianae, and I think I've been sensing something that's I guess I don't know, it's just forming. So I'm just excited. Thank you for this. It's funny how when you speak, you're speaking to each of us at a level that we didn't even know. We didn't even know we were asking that question, and you're answering these questions, and it's all individual. So it's just it's very spiritual. I'm just so amazed and just so thankful that you're here and you're guiding us. Mahalo for all that you do, Miki.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Patty. I know, and I feel that same way too. I mean, like I was like that with Uncle Pono often. And I will say this, like there are times when um I have yet to do the thing that he does, because we're different people and the practices will be different. But you know, he used to call. He used to just call. And like it was like he just knew when you needed to hear something or when you were thinking about something or you didn't even know you were thinking about something. And then he would call and be like, "What's up? Thinking about you. What's going on?" And you're like, "Oh, I was actually, you're right. I was thinking about something." And so now I have this routine where I kind of sit and I'm like, if I was to get the call right now, what what am I thinking about? Right? So it's like I'm training myself to just like close the gap and say like my phone's probably not going to ring, but I know he's trying to reach me. So what am I trying to what am I thinking about right now? Yeah, it's like what Auntie Manu Meyer told me once when she was trying to teach me she's trying to show me or I guess introduce me to the I Ching. And and she was like, you get to a point where you don't even need the sticks because the sticks are just helping you understand what the universe is telling you. The story's already been written. It's there for you. But some of us just need the sticks. Right? Just like I sometimes needed that call from Uncle. So here's to hoping that this was part of the sticks or the call or whatever it is that we needed. And we were definitely all meant to be here. And I appreciate each and every one of you taking the time today to be here and hold space. Thank you so much.